Hey fellow bakers, David here. Today we're going to be baking an absolutely delicious apple cream pie, but before we dive in, we have a few things to do. Preheat your oven to 400 degrees, set an empty baking sheet to preheat on the middle rack, and place a raw pie shell on a 9 or 10 inch pie plate, which I'm going to show you how to do right now. Roll your pie crust 2 inches wider in diameter than your pie plate, and then use your rolling pin to grab it and place it on the center of your plate. Lift the sides of the pie shell so that the pie shell lays flush with the bottom of the pie plate. Next, trim your pie shell, leaving a 1-inch overhang. And to crimp your pie crust, you're going to fold in the pie shell edges underneath on the rim of the pie plate, and with your knuckles on the outer edge and your index finger on the inner edge of the crust, push together between each of the indents that you create with your finger along the edge. Next, peel and chop your apples. And in a large bowl, place 2/3 of a cup of granulated sugar, a 1/4 cup of packed light brown sugar mixed with a 1/2 teaspoon of ground cinnamon, a 1/4 cup of all-purpose flour, and 1/8 teaspoon of salt. Now let's take a whisk and whisk it up. Whisk it real good. Correct that. Oh, now it's time for sour cream. 3/4 cup, and then also a 1/2 cup of heavy cream. It's going to be a very creamy, delicious apple pie, but it's not going to be too stiff and it's not going to be too liquidy. Now let's add a lightly beaten egg. And then let's grab your whisk and whisk it really well. What we're looking for here is a nice liquidy, soupy, smooth, silky mixture at the end of this.
Oh my gosh, look at how smooth that is. Ridiculous.
Now throw in your apples, stir them up, and let them soak while you move on to the next part of the recipe. In a medium bowl, add 1/3 cup of flour, 1/3 cup plus 1 tablespoon of granulated sugar, a 1/4 cup of old-fashioned oats, not the quick variety, and 1 teaspoon of ground cinnamon. You'll want to stir that up until it is perfectly blended and homogeneous. And now grab your very, very cold butter and grate it into the flour mixture. If you want your butter extra cold, put the butter in the freezer right when you start chopping your apples, and by the time you get to this step, it will be ready to be grated. Now grab a pair of forks, or if you have a pastry cutter, you can use that, and cut your butter into the flour mixture until you have pea-sized shapes remaining, like meow. Now let's take your raw pie crust and dump your apple mixture right on inside, and then take your topping and start spreading it over the top evenly across until it's completely covered. And if you'd like, you can use an egg wash of 1 egg white and a splash of cream, dab it along the side of the crust with a pastry brush. Now we are ready to go into the oven for 40 to 50 minutes at 400 degrees until it's fully set. And there you have a crowd-pleasing, delicious, luscious apple cream pie. Enjoy, folks.